episode is brought by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you!
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Red Raptor Writes. Well, this one took a while. Sorry for the wait. These episodes came out at the worst possible time for me, right after my honeymoon, so then I was moving, getting students ready for finals, and scripting the first part of my Prehistoric Predators review. A ton of stuff going on. I didn't end up watching Prehistoric Planet 2 until a month afterwards, but now I'm here to talk about it. Just a heads up, this won't be an accuracy review. Actually, you can check out my accuracy review of the first season here. Instead, I'll be going over the general positives of what I liked, what I didn't like, a normal review from both a paleontology enjoyer and a basic cinema fan. I've kept you all waiting long enough. Let's dig this up. Starting off with some positives, going into this season, there were some aspects I already knew I liked based off of the trailers. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but that's the whole point of trailers. Does this appeal to me, or does this not appeal to me? If you're anything like me, after seeing Dinosaurs, David Attenborough, and Hans Zimmer all in one, then that answer was a resounding yes. I won't retread too much of the same ground as my preliminary hype video, but it's great to see those improvements come to fruition. For one thing, there is a great diversity of Cretaceous creatures here. Some groups that weren't represented before make memorable appearances. Season 1 already had a decent roster, but gets blown out of the water. There are too many new additions, so I'll just list them here. Watching Season 2, the cast definitely feels more well-rounded, though perhaps I could have done with one less mosasaur scene. For those returning animals, some of their designs receive major upgrades with much more color. Hatzegopteryx is the obvious one, but Triceratops looks so much more interesting here. I didn't get my Torosaurus or sharks, but I'll take a dang good Triceratops. The newcomers too also look great. Who doesn't love those emo-looking Rajasaurus painted in red and black? They look like they just walked out of an A7X concert. Like they don't belong here and have to move on, dear. At the end of each episode comes bonus content like Season 1, where paleontological consultants are brought on to walk audiences through some of the science behind each portrayal. And man, I love these. I may have been more glued to the screen in these moments than the actual episodes themselves. But then of course, there are the compliments that go without saying. Sir David Attenborough kills it once again. It's like he was born to play this role, narrating nature documentaries. Well, born and then aged to perfection for 97 years. Like the last go around, the music was composed by Hans Zimmer, Anze Rosman, and Kara Talv. The soundtrack was one of my main points of praise in the first season. Some tracks stood out to me like they were going ham in the recording studio. But for Season 2, I don't know. It all sounded fine, though more of the same. Now, I'm no musical expert. The most I've ever done was be the best flautist in my middle school band class, so take what I say here with heaping piles of salt. Nothing stood out to me, but I'm willing to be wrong on this. All of the visual effects were pretty dang perfect. Each design is still so amazingly detailed that we've gotten to a point where it feels like a cameraman really went to the late Cretaceous. And I don't mean that in a suspension of disbelief way, like, yeah, the CGI is good enough not to stick out. No, I mean we've reached photorealism. One shot of an Ostroraptor did get some attention online for being lower quality. Yeah, it's a little goofy being so up close and personal with the camera, but if no big stink was made, I probably wouldn't have noticed. Okay, so this is where we start getting into the more mixed bags. I wouldn't say there's any aspect of this season that's outright bad. All around, most of it works really well. I would argue that this is a much stronger bunch of episodes than last year's. For me personally, not all of the segments were winners. Don't get me wrong, there were many home runs. Tyrannosaurus vs. Quetzalcoatlus. If you were rooting for the Rex on this one, then your enjoyment was probably diminished. Yes, it would decimate the Quetzal one-on-one, but with some backup, the riders made the defeat seem plausible. The Packy males fighting is exactly what I was hoping to see in this season, and it didn't disappoint. Later, when the Trikes fight, it's a bit of a rehash, but still unique enough to be lots of fun. Isosaurs migrating through planet Mustafar was very creative. Maybe my favorite segment was with the Beelzebufo trying to pick up some chicks, only to be blocked by a herd of Apatosaurus. Super relatable. I've been there, bro. It's not fun. These are some of the highlights, because I don't feel like reciting half the show. Where Prehistoric Planet is at its best is when it does something fresh, something that feels new. I've gone on record saying that I had a movie review obsession in middle school, and one reviewer I used to watch, Geekvolution, in his Incredibles analysis, said that all the good stories have already been told. Originality comes from finding fresh, new ways of telling them. This certainly applies to dinosaur documentaries in my opinion. We've had decades full of the darn things, but there's only so much you can do with animals. In order to stand out, you have to tell the old stories in creative ways. In some sequences, Planet is fantastic at this. One more example I'll pitch to you is when we see velociraptors hunting. Hunting has been done a million times already. It's pretty much obligatory for these shows. However, the way it hunts is so unique that it feels brand new. Of course, that being using Tarbosaurus to scare the Prenocephalae up the cliffside and away from their sauropod meat fortress. On the other hand, this series is at its worst when it doesn't put in the effort to be original, when the same old stuff is really regurgitated. When a pair of Imperobator chase down the fleeing Morosaurus is a perfect example of this. This is a straightforward chase I felt I've seen 1,000 times before. Same goes with the Nanuqsaurus at the very end. Yeah, they add the bit of the mama trying to feed her chicks, but that doesn't come until the very end. I feel if we had the information before, the tension would have been ramped up. Now it turns into a race against time, so her chicks don't starve. Get what I'm saying? Also, sometimes it feels like the writers were getting a little bit lazy. That sounds harsher than I mean it, but in certain segments, I don't know, I get the impression that they couldn't figure out an interesting enough conflict, so Jerry in the writing room busts out all reliable. In the opening scene, showing the island-dwelling Zalmoxes on a raft made of vegetation was a great idea. Okay, where do we go with this? Oh, there's a mosasaur in the water. Thank you for that. Pterosaur flaplings attempting their first flight. Well, we've seen this before, but we're in a new setting. Wait, crocodiles infest these waters. There are so many other cool possibilities aside from predation. The better parts of the show prove that. I just wish there was more consistency in the writing quality. We get some great sequences, while others are just meh, with 5 episodes and 5 segments in each episode. I guess they can't all be winners. And I know I keep railing on this, but this is another symptom of having this segmented based episode rather than having each episode tell a continuous story, like say, Walking with Dinosaurs. You have 5 segments, 5 episodes, that's 25 different small stories you have to tell per season. Some are definitely going to be better than others. This is a quantity over quality situation. I would rather have a few longer, well-told stories than a mixed bag of a lot of stories. But it looks like this isn't changing in any of the seasons, so we'll just have to live with it. Bringing this review to its conclusion, I definitely got a lot of enjoyment from Season 2, even more so than the first. There's even more biodiversity, even more creativity, and nearly everything that hasn't been improved is as good as last time. In my opinion, it's an upgrade almost all around. In fact, I might just recommend jumping to these episodes to avoid the overly repetitive mating and baby murder from before. If Season 1 was very good, then I'll take a step forward to call this one great. Prehistoric Planet is better than ever. What will a Season 3 hold? Who knows? That's a video for another day. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and to check out my social media. See you next time.